I'm Alex Mozet, and welcome to Winner Take All, where we talk about how to fight back and win against big tech monopolies. Today, we're going to jump into a great example of a large traditional business that is seeking to reinvent itself and the industry, and that is Laz Parking. Laz Parking has announced today that they've partnered with Applico to help lead the digital transformation of the parking industry. The collaboration will utilize the business platform model to scale proximity on-demand services across 3,100 locations nationwide in the parking industry at large. And what we'll see is, there's a couple ways that we can think about, hey, how do you fight back against big tech and win? How do you do that if, in a business sense, if you're a traditional enterprise? How do you do that if you're just an individual watching the show and saying, hey, this aggression will not stand? And the key central tenet is to understand that you're not alone. There's a lot of people seeing, whether just individuals, enterprises, officials, recognizing that big tech monopolies have gone unchecked for too long. And this is all part of the Great Awakening. It may not happen tomorrow where we can level set the playing field, but the movement is building. We're all a part of that movement. And ultimately, we will all be successful in helping to bring more equity and more parity to the capitalist system that we all know and love. And Laz Parking is a great example, leading the charge to do exactly that. And what they talk about more in this press release is this idea of proximity on-demand services. And the key here, and for many large enterprises looking to innovate, and it's all over this press release from Laz here, they have over 1.3 million parking spaces across the country, over 3,000 locations in 35 states and 439 cities, right? And the key thing, if you take a step back and you say, okay, I'm playing chess, not checkers. These tech monopolies, right? Unless you want to fall subservient to them, you have to embrace these new digital business models, right? And it's very hard for a large traditional enterprise to do that all from scratch, right? It's so hard just to build a business in and of itself, let alone, venture out, have a whole new digital business model, manage the existing thing, transform into the next thing. And what this press release from Laz is a great example of is saying, you know what? We want to look externally. We want to open up our arms and reach out to what other tech companies, tech innovators, tech startups are doing. We want to work with them. And that's what Applico's role is, to help act as the advisor to Laz and help to liaise and work with all the different tech startups and companies and providers that are out there and figure out how to bring both of these worlds together, the large traditional enterprises and the up and coming tech companies. Because you want to know what they have in common. Those tech monopolies are trying to cram both of them down in some similar ways and some different ways. But the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And what we need to see more of is traditional enterprise and up and coming tech companies working together. The up and coming tech companies, they've got hustle. They've got drive. They're grinding. They've got good product. They've got good tech capabilities. They've got great data capabilities. What they need more than capital is scale. You know what large enterprises have a lot of? Scale and actually capital. So how do you bring both of these worlds together to accelerate both parties' respective futures, right? What Laz needs and wants is to innovate and embrace new digital business models. So why do they have to do it all from scratch? And the answer is they don't. This press release is a great signal. You've got Alan, the chairman and CEO of Laz Parking, talking about in here. We chose Applico to partner with us on this journey because they're innovative, creative, and effective at helping enterprises capture new tech-enabled business models. We intend to remake Laz into America's most digital parking operator. The future of parking lies in deploying these technologies in ways that transform traditional parking locations into logistics hubs, serving the needs of a diversified, increasingly digital economy. We see a huge opportunity for partnerships, keyword, across the entire spectrum of technology and economy, players large and small. one little bit from me. By embracing strategic partnerships, Laz can use its national scale to provide proximity on-demand services that will transform the industry for the next 20 years. And every bit of that is true. And the point is, you're going to get there faster. You're going to get there with less downside, with less execution risk by opening up and working with others to go after this vision. If we all keep trying to go it alone, that's the other central tenet of what tech monopolies and these kind of power sources are trying to do. They're trying to make us feel like we're all alone. They're trying to make us feel like we got to go do this all by ourselves and that we don't have any other friends and we don't have any other allies out there. And you know what? It's not true. It's fake news. There's a lot of people out here that are singularly unified by saying, I want to bring more equity and more parity to the system, to the competitive environment. And tech monopolies and government monopolies are overstepping their boundaries. And we can work together to make a more level playing field and win, and ultimately win, both economically and from a societal standpoint. Do good for ourselves and for society and make money. And the way you do that is by working with others and not trying to do this all by yourself and not trying to feel like you're singled out and you're all by yourself and you're on an island. There's a lot of opportunity when we work together to combat the ultimate transgression that we're all seeing and living through of big tech monopolies and the constant power grab that's going on. So Laz is a great example. There's a lot of opportunity in the parking space. If you think about all these high density urban environments, all the new ways that space is being utilized, and a variety of these proximity on-demand services that the demand for is only increasing every day. So it's really great to work with Al and the Laz team. And I'm really excited to have some great announcements in the near future about what Laz is doing to really lead the charge here and set an example, not just for the parking industry, but I think traditional enterprises at large on how they can go about working with others to accelerate that digital future. So that's super exciting. We got two examples. You know the expression of you put your thumb down on something or someone, you apply that top-down pressure on them. Well, I've got some great examples of Amazon doing exactly that and kind of the outcome of what comes with that. So Amazon aims to bring malls to last mile fulfillment strategy. Basically, the first part of the article is saying that malls are in deep doo-doo. 115,000 shopping centers are in trouble, but that might spell opportunity for Amazon. Guess who brought about their downfall? I wonder who. Here's the irony in all of this. As reported in August of last year, Simon Property Group, the nation's largest mall owner, who's been the biggest, not maybe the biggest, but a big casualty of Amazon's rise and ascension to monopoly power, had been in negotiations with Amazon to transform some properties into fulfillment centers. Let me give one other example. I'm going to come back to the gotcha in all of this. Office Depot owner ODP Corp to split into two companies. Office Depot, you're like, oh yeah, what happened to Office Depot? The thing is still, lumbering along, but now they're splitting it apart. So on Wednesday, it would spin off its distribution platform, which schools, offices, and other businesses use to buy supplies. Who's buying supplies off of Office Depot distribution? So they're splitting off. The new company will also own their regional office supply distribution businesses, and they're going to get a tax dividend because they're taking a loss on this. So they're splitting off the distribution from the other part of the business and trying to kind of keep the other healthier part of the business still alive and just say, yes, someone else take this headache. And so that's how you kind of see these big companies slowly die, death by 1,000 cuts, kind of, let's sell off this bit, let's sell off that bit. And you're kind of just hoping you can, if you're the owner or the private equity firm or, the investor, you can extract a little bit more value and split off the pieces and, make your margin that way. But it is not a good place to be. Obviously, it comes to macro shifts of e-commerce and marketplace business models rising to a point of monopolistic dominance. But now you can kind of see the fallout on the other side here. So the way this comes full circle, though, looking back at this kind of Simon bit here and what Amazon is doing and bringing it back to Laz, is what you don't want to do is be in a position where you now are just a commodity and you have space. And, now the tech monopoly comes in and has all the leverage and says, yeah, well, maybe I'll take some of your space, or maybe, I'll just pit you against all these other people over here. And now it's just a commodity race to the bottom, and there's, barely any margin, or that's just also not a good place to be in. So the point is, how do you get out in front of that and leverage other tech business models, other digital business models that can interface with your core assets, right? And so now you actually have a comprehensive offering, because if all you're doing is waiting for the tech monopoly to do a big deal and take a bunch of space, well, you got no leverage in that situation. What you need to do is find other new business opportunities that, yeah, maybe the tech monopoly, would be interested in that offering also. But you have now digital forward, standalone business offerings, right? That you've done in cooperation with other tech players. You've got tech players that are plugging into that, whatever it is, you have a more differentiated offering, which is either digital first or digitally enabled. You don't have to do this all yourself. There's a bunch of different innovation going on with a bunch of different tech players and startups and investors, et cetera. But that offering stands on its own. That offering is serving a broader demand pool than just the tech monopoly that says, oh, well, now I'd like to get some last mile space. Can you give me some warehouses? Not the place you want to be. Laz is getting out in front of this thing. Some others are in a little bit of a tougher spot. So this is Amazon just putting their thumb down, saying, oh yeah, we destroyed your business. Hey, you want to give us some space? Oh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll get the space from you. Maybe I'll get the space from 20 other people I just put out of business. Yeah, I'll let you know if I'm interested. Thanks, guys. Got to get out in front of this stuff. And you can, and you don't have to do it alone. And we're not alone. Right? There's a great awakening coming from a business standpoint, from an individual, from a consumer, from a producer standpoint, about tech monopolies overstepping of boundaries, not just once, not just twice, but multiple times over years now. That wave is building, and it's going to peak pretty soon. If Amazon's putting its thumb down, China's putting its pinky down. And the Chinese pinky compared to Amazon's thumb, I would take Amazon's thumb any day of the week. Do you want to talk about monopolistic power grabs and forces that you don't want to get in the way of? That is the CCP. And oh boy, we have talked many times, many examples about, China cracking down on tech monopolies. And that purge continues with this guy. Meituan's outspoken CEO loses billions. An 1,100-year-old poem lost $2.5 billion. It took just 28 Chinese characters on an obscure social media platform to ignite a controversy that's rattled the country's tech industry. Meituan Dianping, is consumed Uber China many years ago. Does food delivery. It's kind of like an Uber in China. Meituan CEO Wang Xing lost $2.5 billion of his wealth over 2 days after he posted verses from a millennium-old poem about the misguided attempts of China's first emperor to quash dissent. Wang, a usually plain-speaking engineer who enjoys literary classics, later scrubbed his post and explained he was really calling out the short-sightedness of his own industry, trying to clarify there was no implied criticism of the government. But the damage was done. Meituan, this is their stock, so it's really just calculating, hey, he owned this many shares in Meituan, and Meituan stock shed $26 billion in market cap over 2 days. And then, they calculate out the $2.5 billion loss. And we've spoken about what happened to Ant and a bunch of other tech monopolies in China. If tech monopolies have overstepped their boundary, I don't know what the analogy, I don't know what the analogy is to try and put it in perspective to what the CCP and these totalitarian communist governments are doing in terms of overstepping their power boundaries. Well, I guess the whole idea is they don't have power boundaries and they can do whatever they want. That's the whole idea. So technically, maybe they're not overstepping their boundaries. But either way, just from like a human civil rights standpoint, they're definitely overstepping their boundaries. You just can't do anything or say anything about it if you're in China. And most people don't want to do or certainly say anything about it if they're outside of China. Not our last guest speaker, though, General Spalding, in his book, it's on the shelf, South War. He was the defense attaché to China. He was on the National Security Council. This guy is the man, 3-star brigadier general, was flying B-2 stealth bombers back in the day. This guy is calling out what's going on with China. We're in an information war. Tech monopolies, foreign governments are trying to shape the opinion of what we think online, implicitly, explicitly. We are in an information war currently today. Good news is we will win. We will fight back and win. The movement is building. People are waking up every day to understand that it's not okay. And the aggression will not be tolerated. So tech monopolies, transgression is here. Communist Chinese government is all the way over here. It's off the screen. You can't even see how far. Not even on the chart. So anyway, the fear is now that Meituan, they're going to be called by the regulators. If not, the poor CEO is probably already getting some reconditioning right now. Remember Jack Ma disappeared for a month? Who's seen Jack Ma? I don't know where Jack Ma's gone. That's just one example. I got one other thing on China. Here, this one. H&M is erased from Chinese e-commerce over Xinjiang stance. Apps block searches for the clothing retailer after it stops sourcing from the region, escalating a clash between Beijing and Western companies. The Swedish clothing brand operates more than 400 stores in China. Ordering a car to an H&M store was impossible on Didi, which didn't recognize the brand as a valid destination. Searching for H&M on multiple Chinese map apps, including Baidu Maps, basically the Google of China, returned 0 results, as if the clothing company didn't exist. They literally wiped the company off the map and erased any existence of this thing through what? Chinese tech platforms. They are a party. They are a branch. They are an arm. They are an extension of the CCP. And this is the real challenge this is why Applico doesn't work with communist governments, totalitarian regimes. We don't want to help platforms rise to a point of dominance and monopolistic scale when they're basically now just a tool in the arsenal of totalitarian governments and regimes to use the platform power to carry out their political will and ultimately damage the civil liberties, what's left of them, of their citizens. It's a very sad thing to see. Case in point right here. And you know what? If any of these tech monopolies, Baidu, did anything about this, boom, all their executives reconditioning, their stock price, boom, through the floor. Not good things. They can't do anything. They don't have any recourse, they being the tech monopolies. They are now a victim to the system. It's really sad to see. H&M tried to kind of say, hey, we saw stuff that wasn't okay, didn't fit our supply chain sustainability and like human rights standards. And so, we took action. And then, now you got then the Chinese going after them. So what can you do? You basically, and this is what we spoke about with General Spalding, you got to decouple. That's all you got. That's all you can do. There's nothing else you can do. You can't. That one, the only way you win that fight is by decoupling. Next topic is now Elon. Fun little bit. Elon on SNL.
Look, I know I sometimes say or post strange things, but that's just how my brain works. To anyone I've offended, I just want to say I reinvented electric cars and I'm sending people to Mars in a rocket ship. Did you think I was also going to be a chill, normal dude?
Elon's a man. knows platforms in and out, co-founder of PayPal. General Spalding, we talked about Elon with Spalding, and he thinks that China's a master at soft power, so they're trying to get soft power over Elon. Not like hard power, kinetic force, soft power. Tesla's China sales falter with exports robust on demand in Europe. Sales are faltering in China. You remember the Chinese government recently started to say, no government officials can ride in a Tesla because they're scared of being spied on. Here, more news. Tesla puts brake on Shanghai land buy as U.S.-China tensions weigh on. This is what Spalding was getting at is, China wants to control Elon. Why do they really want to control Elon? Yes, because of Tesla. Yes, it'd be nice to get, their EV charging technology, but also because of space. And because of this thing. This is a photo of Starlink, satellite connector. Spoken about these transponders, super portable. This post here. SpaceX's Starlink satellite internet has 500,000 pre-orders, and the installation is entirely do-it-yourself. It comes with a tripod, and that's it. You're supposed to chuck it in your yard and then drill a hole in your house to get the wires in. I know people using this that are, in New York State that are, far out of New York City, a few hours outside of New York City, don't have good internet speed, and they're using Starlink right now, and it's way faster than the current internet offering. This is New York State that they're getting from their landline traditional internet provider. So it's not just pre-orders. Starlink is up, it's working, and it's working better than existing internet providers in places like New York State. I mean, wow. And SpaceX has made this all possible with Starlink. We spoke to Spalding about if Starlink could pierce the Great Firewall in China. But this was the general's point is, China will just exert pressure on Elon because now Elon has all these factories and he's got his Tesla's share price. And, this is a soft power mechanism that, hey, you've now invested in China. Well, I mean, Elon, like if you don't do stuff with space or if you do stuff that we don't like with Starlink or this or that, well, we may just have to ban all your Teslas from being sold in China and just commandeer all your factories and any IP that you, have left around that we might be able to extract from you, right? Like there are no rules. It's the Wild Wild West had more rules than doing business in China. When you cross the line and when you cross the wrong people, yeah, you better just say sorry and ask for forgiveness and pray that they treat you with. I don't know. I don't even know what you want to be treated with, but I just know it's a bad position to be in. And oh, by the way, even whatever money you make in China, you can't even take it out of the country and reinvest it. You can't bring it back to the US. You can't bring it to other parts of the world if you're a multinational company. Your money is stuck in China. You can't take your money out. All these foreign multinationals, many of them US, that are operating in China, they're too scared to even talk about it. Hey, we can't take our money out of China. What's going on? Is this a Ponzi scheme? Oh, it might be a Ponzi scheme, but I don't want to say it's a Ponzi scheme because then the Chinese government's going to come after my company, shut down all my locations, and my stock price is going to sink. And I'm, paid by my quarterly earnings, and I don't want to do that because then I'll get fired. Eventually, the awakening is happening, and eventually, these power vacuums will be popped, whether it's tech monopolies or totalitarian governments. And we are all part of that, whether individually or through business or or just knowledge or whatever it is. We are all part of that movement, and we will be successful. That's it for us today on Winner Take All. I will leave you with that. Have a great day. I will talk to you later.